Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live. I haven't done a live like this where I'm like on my desktop in my room, I think, since last year. So it's been a while. Yeah, last year. I think the last time I did this was probably back in November when I talked about my 1 year anniversary of becoming, um, going from 9 to 5 to entrepreneur. So here's an update. And I wanted to do a live on this because I just got off a counseling session with my counselor, and we were talking about YouTube and going back on YouTube and making actual educational manifestation videos on YouTube again for myself and also my business. And she challenged me to do one YouTube video, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go plan one. But then my mind was like, why don't we go live and talk about this experience, and then let's go plan another one and then film one. So that's what I'm doing here. So in case you're new, this is the From 9 to 5 to Entrepreneur vlog. A welcome here, where I talk about the insights, the things that I learn and go through as someone who has worked multiple 9 to 5 jobs and then finally took the leap in October 2021 to focus on her passions and things that lit her up and her entrepreneurship journey. So my intention is that this series of vlogs will help someone out there who is leaning on taking the leap or has already taken the leap and like just wants to hear from another entrepreneur. And I hope that this helps someone else. So a bit of an update here. So I don't know if I mentioned this in my other vlogs before. I haven't watched them, but I got a counselor. And I think this is something that I talked a lot about previously on how it's so important to get help with your mental health, especially as an entrepreneur. And of course, I think everyone should have mental health support. But I think in the case of us entrepreneurs, it's super, 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 super important. And the reason why is because, a lot of the times, as you're an entrepreneur, you will do things alone and by yourself. And you need that support to, possibly bounce ideas off of, or just have someone hear you out and hold space for you. I remember just a few weeks ago, I was coaching someone. And at the end of the coaching session, I asked her like what her takeaways were, like, how it was. And she was like, it's just really nice to have someone to talk to about these things, because normally she's the one who people talk to about these things, but she doesn't have anyone like that for herself. And that was eye-opening for me, right? Because that's how I felt too, right? That's how I felt on the beginning of this journey. I made a really shit decision to stop seeing my psychologist. And I didn't see her for like 10 months. And holy crap, I wish I did, because the amount of, mental health issues that came up were just so like painful and tough, right? Not having someone to hold space for you and just talk about these things. And what I find is when you do have someone to hold space for you and support you with these things, it's much easier for you to move through them and into a better place and into a more healthier, enlightened, light kind of place that you want to be in, right? And I definitely probably could have avoided a lot of those months of misery and pain and right. And even though I had friends who were supportive, right, it just it's so much different when you see a professional, right? So I'm really glad that I took this leap on getting a counselor, and I want to share the manifestation story of it with you, because I am a manifestation coach, and um, we it's okay for me to talk about my business on here. So and like what I do. So a few months ago, back in October/November, I was working with a business coach that I had been talking about working with for a few months now. And I don't know if it was the timing But when we connected, I was going through a lot of personal shit. I was just going through a lot of personal stuff, and I found myself constantly overthinking, having so much anxiety, just feeling so much internal pain. And then something happened in my family that, really, really struck a chord in me and hurt me. And it was really painful. And a few months before that, I was seeing my psychologist, but I actually stopped because during my second visit to my psychologist, it was very rushed. And it was rushed on my part because I needed to go home very quickly because I was receiving a ride from a family member. And the family member, wasn't open to me being like, hey, I'm just going to take myself home afterwards, right? And the reason why we were rushed was because the family member needed to go to work right away. So I had to finish on the hour. And knowing me, I do respect the time of my psychologist. And at the same time, I also respect, my needs. But at the time, I didn't, right? I respected someone else's needs because they were giving a ride for me. And so that really shifted something in me and shook me. And I needed to take a pause from seeing my psychologist because I wasn't able to pay her fees. And at the same time, I was also really scared that if I go there again and a family member is aware that I'm going there, they're gonna rush me again. And so I pretty much stomped on myself there uh, because I wanted to make a family member happy and not disappoint them. But now looking back at it, I'm like, you know what? If that does happen again, I can just be like, hey, this is important to me, and I will just ask someone else for a ride home, or just like, just tell them something else. Like, I'll find an alternative way of going home, right? And I understand the reasons why this person was like, very adamant on that and didn't accept that because another family member got mad at them, when the first time they didn't like, wait there 100% kind of thing for me. Um, so there's that. So you can kind of realize, right? I can kind of realize like, oh my god, there's so much stuff there. And so I stopped seeing my psychologist for a few months, and that's when stuff started piling up. And thankfully, my business coach was always looking out for me. It was really nice to have conversations and have her hold space for me. But at the end of the day, I hired her so that we can work on my business. And because I had a lot of this stuff come up, and we had such a limited time working together. We only worked together for 5 weeks. It was really, really hard for me to focus on my business too, right? So because I was also doing a lot of healing work at the same time. But anyway, so after that, the end of the year was a shit show for me mentally. And then at the beginning of the year, I'm the kind of person who makes New Year's resolutions. So, like, yay to those who also make New Year's resolutions. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I make goals and resolutions throughout the year as well. So I'm pretty balanced. But I made a resolution to make this year freaking great. And I chose a new perspective and I chose new behavior. I chose a new identity. I chose the identity of someone who gets what she wants, you know, indulges in her success, and instead of complaining and overthinking and reacting to every single thing, she responds and she learns from it and she grows from it and she moves forward and she feels great about the growth and moving forward and the lessons that she's learned. And she focuses on what she can do rather than what she can't do. And she focuses on solutions, but she also takes really damn good care of herself. And that includes her mental health. So at the beginning of January, the beginning of the year was really pretty great. I did end up getting into a situation where I tried a new job. I tried to be an appointment setter while working on my business, and the appointment setting job was not for me. And I'm really grateful that I took on that role and tried it, right? I'm a 35 projector in human design, so that means that I'm in trial and experimentation a lot of the times, which is the side of me and is the side of my projector side that I'm not a huge fan of, but I accept and I love, and I realize it helps me grow a lot when I do those trial moments, even though they're really painful. Um, and so, I realized at the time, I was like, okay, I'm glad I went through this, because I realized that appointment setting is not for me. It is too much energy. The expectations are very clear, but they're also very, uh, they also like don't line up with the contract that I signed, right? Like I was expected to work, many hours, but then in the contract it says like you're a freelancer, you can like work whenever you want, however long you want. But to be successful in the job, it's like you have to ignore that clause and actually, do more work than intended. And the sucky thing was that we were also getting paid in commissions. So that meant only when a sale was closed would we get paid. And it was 10 days. And, the person I was contracting for decided to end her contract. And I'm glad she did, because 10 days without pay is a long time. And I realized that if I ever do anything else like that for someone else, I have to be in a really good place where I'm confident that, I can funnel very qualified leads who are ready to buy, right? Because, yeah, I was confident in her closing abilities, but no one was really booking calls, right? Um, but then it made me realize, like, if I ever do that again, a base salary is important, right? Because I only took on that job so that I could try to pay my bills, but it didn't really work out, right? And that's okay. But during that month, I was under that stress with that stuff, because there's this person with expectations, but I took it with like a grain of salt, right? I didn't let it affect me as much. I did have a bit of anxiety at the end of the month, but like that was because literally my anxiety was telling me, hey, this is not for you. And we did end it. And I'm glad that it ended that way, right? And I cut those cords and those connections. But at the end of the month, I signed a new client, like a perfect dream client, right? Which was awesome. And, I worked with her for 5 to 6 weeks, and it was brilliant. And she loved it. She implemented so fast. She got so many good results for herself, and she was able to come home to herself, and also have build a healthier relationship with her boyfriend and herself, right? And clear a lot of her doubts, and just keep on moving forward constantly. And she was able to shift some things in her reality that she never thought could shift, right? And she was able to negotiate her salary from 180K to 220K, right? At a startup. Like, how cool is that, right? But yeah, during I think the month of April or month of March, my business coach like landed on something on her Facebook page where a counselor needed some hours for her her not coaching her counseling course or program. And what that meant was she was seeking for people to provide counseling sessions for free. And I'm in Canada, and this counseling is only available in Canada. And my business coach saw that and passed that along to me. And I'm so glad she did. That your coach is really great when they're still thinking of you even after they've worked with you, and they know exactly like what you might need help with. And what I need help with is more so my mental health, right? And I believe that when we really work on our mental health, like also as an entrepreneur, it's like it's so good, because as an entrepreneur, not only are like some of the times you're alone, but you're also in other people's energies. You're also taking a lot of stuff in. You're taking a lot of different beliefs and opinions in, right? And it's like, how do you sort through all of these things, right? Right. So it's so important to have that space for you and also have that support so that you can, like they say, therapists can help you, like, undo the yarn ball that's all crazy in your mind and then put it back into a nice, like, nicely rolled up yarn ball, right? Um, I wish I could just, like, real time, like, put pictures on the video. Maybe we'll manifest that. But yeah, so I said yes, and then my business coach set me up in a conversation with the counselor and her, and then I talked with the counselor, and then we started our appointments at the end of April, and I just had my fourth session with her, and it finally feels like we're getting into the meat of things, because the first 2.5 sessions were um, gathering background information so that it helps my counselor actually, provide me with counseling like that's tailored to me. Um, so I really appreciate that. And, like, she's not just my second counselor, like she's probably my maybe fifth or sixth. And what I notice with counseling and therapy and stuff is, like, you really need to link up with the right therapist for you. um, just because your friend uses one therapist doesn't mean that therapist will work for you, right? Because what I noticed was that the first few times when I looked into therapy back in 2018, 2019, some of the beginning therapists didn't really work with me. Like, some of them tried to constantly push me out of my comfort zone that actually shocked my central nervous system, that made me feel at unease, and then just made me feel even worse after that. And of course, it did make me stronger, but it was just very, very painful. And I think that therapy should be painful. Um, I think it can be pleasurable, right? Um, and it is. Like, this counselor that I have right now, she's similar to my psychologist, where, like, she understands, like, manifestation and spirituality and that kind of stuff, right? And it's really important for me to have someone who links with that with me, right? It's kind of like having a doctor who really understands, like, like your Asian culture, right? Or that specializes with working with uh, Asian people, right? And knows the kinds of, like, illnesses or complications that Asian people could run into because of their environment or the demographics, that kind of thing, right? So it's very specialized and tailored, and I like that. So that's how I manifested her, and it was really cool because I also manifested another opportunity to get more counseling from a different counselor. A friend just, like, all of a sudden messaged me one day when I was thinking about counseling, and then was like, "Hey, my friend is a counselor and is wants to give some sessions for free. Do you know anyone who's interested?" And I was like, "Oh, thank you. Like, I'm good for now, but I definitely, will pass this along to other people." And I think that's great. That's a possibility, because if you talked to me like 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't think that free counseling was a possibility. I thought that, oh my god, free counseling would be bad. But actually, you can't actually give counseling or therapy or be a psychologist without, like, those certifications. So when it's free, it's usually because you're already studying with other counselors and getting certified. So yeah, so I think that's pretty awesome. And there are actually places here that do provide counseling at a very, like, minimal fee. And I think maybe I had a limiting belief on that too, because my friend, who is also an entrepreneur, I think she tried the counseling, and she said one wasn't good, but then the other one was, like, better. So it's also about finding the right therapist or counselor or psychologist for you too, right? And you'll know when it's the right time. I don't know why I still have this alarm. I have my alarm set for like 1:30 each day, but it was I think it's a nap alarm or a coaching alarm, but I don't need it anymore, so I'm gonna delete that. But yeah, like, uh, you'll know when you link up with the right counselor or the right psychologist, because it just feels normal. It feels natural. It feels natural in your body. It feels like a calmness and a peacefulness. You don't have to force anything or try anything or convince anything. It's like you can be you. So um, since getting a counselor, like I've been much happier, much more calm, much more peaceful, much more relaxed, even though there are stuff going on in my reality that I'm like, I would have been really anxious about before, right? But I realize that the thing is consistently be calm and present, and of course acknowledge things that are going on in my reality, um, and take action. But being keeping that peace and keeping that calmness and relaxation is something that I'm working on right now. And I think it's really helping me as an entrepreneur too, because then I'm grounded and I can actually focus on my business and move it forward, and also focus on my little side gigs and those kind of things. So yeah, I just finished my fourth session with my counselor, and it was just really amazing. I really appreciate being able to just like vent, but also just lay the stuff that's been going on, kind of like dumping my brain out to my counselor, and she just was so patient and just like listened the whole way. And I think I was like talking for like 20 minutes, just straight. Um, and I got out what I needed to get out. So yeah, I felt very lit up at the end of it, and my counselor challenged me to make a YouTube video by the end of this week. And she's like, you know what, like I feel like this is really going to bring in like, you know, something amazing for you, and like this is really what you need to do. And I love that. Right? I love it when people can be my hype bay, my hype team, when they can sense that I really want to do something, but I have been holding back from it, and they hype me up there. Those are the kind of people I want in my life. Like I remember this one time, I went into the showcase store to buy a slime, and I was still hesitating on buying a slime for myself, even though I wanted it for 6 months. And I was telling the store clerk about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I think you should get one." I was like, "Okay, thank you." Like that's the confirmation that I wanted, right? And maybe I needed that, right? And that's okay. Um, People can help you with that kind of thing. It's just like those little confirmations. I like that. So here I am making that YouTube video, but I'm also going to make another YouTube video for my main channel, Magnetic Unicorn. If you want to follow below, you can click on the link below in the description. Also, I don't know if the description's going to be changing, but from what I've seen so far, it hasn't changed in many years. So in the description box below, you'll find that link and to my main channel. And like, I had some tips here that I wanted to share about like counseling. Like, was it how to find a good counselor? I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I just wanted to emphasize that I got a counselor. It's very important with entrepreneurship, and it's also very important too if you're still working your 9 to 5 as well, right? It makes a lot of sense to have someone there, but at the same time, not everyone needs mental health support like that. Sometimes you need to do things on your own, right? And then sometimes there's a season where you're not doing things on your own. Um, and like I've been getting a lot of like external help, and I'm really blessed that I'm receiving a lot of this help for free. In the future, I would definitely like to pay for this when I'm able to. And at the end of the day, it made me realize that it's okay to, I don't know why my phone lit up, it's okay to get the support that you need, no matter what stage of life you are, or no matter where you are with your finances. Like you can get help either way, and yes, you can get good help, right? I think there's this like belief that sometimes floats around in the entrepreneur world and also in the coaches world too, and it's like also like marketing thing, is that you can't get a lot of value out of free stuff, right? And I think that's not accurate. I think you can get a lot of value out of free stuff, but it's what you make out of the free stuff, right? Like because you're not giving an energy exchange of money there. there's a different energy exchange. You're giving your time and your energy, and you might be manually like implementing things, and there might be other things that you need to do, right, with the free stuff, right? And that's okay. Um, and then, like, and then there's times where free content doesn't give you any value, right? And that can depend on a number of factors, right? But it is what you make it to be, right? It is what you make your reality be. If you want things to work for you, right, but you're not in a space where you can pay for these things, right? Like, find the resources where you can either get the resources to pay for things that you want to do, or find a way to do the things that you want to do based on where you are right now, right? So yeah, so I don't remember exactly what I wanted to say at the end there. um I see someone's watching in, so hello. And I'm just like, I'll if it comes back, I will definitely let you know. But I feel like I had something to do with like tips on like how to, get your own counselor, like what to look for and that kind of thing. Um, Definitely, I think like the number one tip that I would share if you are looking for a counselor or therapist right now, and you are an entrepreneur, or you're thinking about becoming like, going full time in your entrepreneur journey or whatever, is to be very vulnerable and communicative and transparent about your current situation and stuff, right? And talk about what you are looking for. And I'm going to share like a story from my own experience when it came to like, like trying to, when it came to like a discovery call that I had or a sales call that I had with someone. And I think what they did was, probably unintentional what they did, but um, it was a good learning lesson. So when they were looking for a coach, and they were really excited to book with me, and I could see that. Um, uh, and of course, it was like my one of my first times like qualifying client, and I'm glad we didn't work together because it just wasn't the right fit. But I wasn't able to meet his expectations of what he needed, and that's okay, right? And I remember we talked about, I guess, like compensation, like not compensation, but we talked about what it would look like to work with me, and what the payment was, right? And um, I was not aware of his budget until after I talked about how much my program was. And um, this is something that a lot of like coaches and like anyone who does like sales calls or whatever go through, and they're called objections, right? And with objections, you can have people being like, hey, I know so and so charges this much instead, right? And so what's going on here is that, they might be trying to get a lower price from you or a discount, or they're just literally just making you aware that, hey, someone is charging this price, right? And in that moment, you can show them what you can do for them, right? And then that way they get the impression, and then you can also just let them walk away and be like, okay, well then go ahead with that person who charges that price, right? Because clearly, if you're hunting for price, there you haven't seen the value of what I offer, or we're just not the right fit, right? Because um, the clients that I work with, right, we're the right fit with the price, we're a right fit with the value that I provide them, right fit for all of it, right? And they're ready to just move forward and work together, right? Um, and I realized that, like, it would have been really nice if he just said up front, like, okay, here's my budget, this is what I'm looking for, this is who I want to work with, right? This is what I do, and these are the results that I want to get, right? And this is my goal, right? And I could have definitely done a better job qualifying instead of just asking for his goals, actually ask the budget question, the B word, right? That I used to be so scared of asking and just being like, what is your budget, right? And now I actually have that in my questionnaires when people book a consultation call with me or a connection call with me, right? Where I tell them like, it'll be 3 figures to 4 figures, um, right? And then I ask them like, would they be ready, right? Like I only give them like 2 options now. Like before I used to give 3 options, and now I give 2 options. So I know for sure, yes, they can move forward and they've got the cash to invest, or they've got the credit to invest and they're okay with that, or no, they can't. Their credit is full, they don't have the cash, that kind of thing, right? And then that way I know that, okay, this person probably can't work with me moving forward, but I can give them some value in this call, right, to help them out. Or, okay, I can give this person some value, I can talk to them about moving forward, and then, yeah, we'll see where we go from there, right? And hopefully they become a client, right? Um, so I realized that when it comes to getting any kind of service, including counseling, and also coaching and stuff, it's so important to just be vulnerable and communicate exactly what it is that you need and what you want, right? And I know that there's probably debates on this, like a ton of debates online, but honestly, like for me personally, that's what feels right to me is like just be very upfront with what you want. Kind of like with dating, be upfront with what you want and need, right? And some people might find that really off putting because it's like if like say this, like then you like lose the connection. Like what if you could just build a connection and then you build into it, right? Right. And that's totally valid opinion. I think that's a valid opinion. But what works for me, right, is just like, just being upfront and be like, hey, I want this and I want that, right? And I need this and need that. And then if it's not a fit, then don't go through it, right? And then try it again with someone else, right? Do it with someone else. Um, So that's what I noticed was really effective to helping me really align with counselors and psychologists and therapists, that really align with me is to just be communicative of what it is that I need and want, and also, where I'm at right now and like what my values are, right? Like, I made sure to write like a list of questions and things that I was concerned about or like had questions on, and then talk to my counselor and be like, hey, like, I noticed like ancestral stuff is coming up for me. Like, can you work on that? And I noticed like body stuff is on me. Can you work on that? And and it was nice because she was like, yeah, like that's actually something I specialize in, right? And like don't be afraid to ask what the specialty is of the counselor or the psychologist as well, right? Like if the psychologist specializes in relationships and you're looking to get help on career, um, maybe that's a good fit because you do have to deal with relationships in your career, but maybe it's not a good fit and you're better off just finding someone who specializes in career, right? And that's going to make it worth your while. And that's going to also make me feel more confident when you work with them because you know that they specialize in that thing, right? Yeah. And so it just makes it easier for everyone as well, right? Like the connection just becomes so much easier and you feel more aligned that way. So, um, yeah, so I just wanted to share that, and hopefully that helps someone. And I am going to end this live now, but thank you so much for watching and for listening. And I hope that you are supported with your mental health, but not just your mental health, but in every different area of your life and your business as well, because you deserve it. You are enough, and you deserve to keep on moving forward at your best self. Hello, I am good. How are you? I can't read your name. How do I say your name? And yeah, so I will see you all later. Thank you so much for watching another episode of From 9 to 5 to Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Care, and I will see you next time. Bye.